No doubt one of the things you've heard as we've gone through this time of polarization, post-election, pre-election, is the importance of understanding the other person's perspective, of demonstrating empathy. It almost feels kind of like a cliche. Oh, we need to understand the other person. But it is true. How can I have a conversation with somebody unless I know what they're saying? What I would suggest is thinking deeply about what does it mean to demonstrate empathy. And I'm going to reference this book, Marshall Rosenberg's wonderful book called Nonviolent Communication, which deeply influenced my thinking. Rosenberg talks about empathy, and he sees empathy as kind of having three elements. At least this is what I recall in the book. One of those things is empathy towards ourselves. One of them is affective empathy, and one of them is cognitive empathy. And so I want to talk about all three, because if we understand all three, it can help us better understand how to connect with other people, how to demonstrate empathy. Well, it sounds weird to say empathy towards ourselves. What does that mean? But what it means is I need to become aware of what's happening inside my brain that interferes with my ability to have empathy towards someone else. Sometimes what's happening is fear. Sometimes what's happening is judgment. Sometimes what's happening is self-interest. And if I become aware of how my own way of looking at that person makes it difficult for me to demonstrate empathy, that's a huge step. To some extent, I almost have to, as my friend Devana Dunakak said, I almost have to clear my mind so I can have empathy for that person. Once I've cleared my mind, or done my best at least to be open to seeing the other person's perspective, there's cognitive and affective empathy. And cognitive empathy means I understand the needs of the person. In this situation right now, what is it they need? And the final form of empathy is to understand their emotions. How are they feeling? What's their feeling at this point? To demonstrate empathy, I think those three things are critical. And so my suggestion, simple thing you can do to move forward, is to try that. To think deeply about the people you're with. There's some forums online. I've got a link to them you can get to help you look at that, but I'm not sure you even need the forums. The issue is if you're going to sit down and have a conversation, especially with someone who's different than you, has a different perspective than you, to ask yourself, what do I have to clear out of my mind so I can understand them? What are they feeling, and what are their needs? Sometimes those needs will also help us understand their fears. And part of cognitive empathy, I think, is trying to understand that as well. So I'd encourage you, as a way to move forward, to do your best to understand the other person. If you can understand another person and do some of the other things we've talked about, find common ground, you can move things forward.